Right, the previous recording cut off, but I'm going to continue. This is what I remembered, that the place in California was near a town called Escondido, which in English means hidden. And the area that it was, I can't remember if it's the area or the actual RV park, was called Rancho something. And I don't know why I keep thinking Rancho Feliz, which would mean like happy farm or something. But I don't know. But I think it was called Rancho or something. Anyway, it was near a place called Escondido, and a bit further up, I had been to a dam, like a reservoir with a dam, and I had stayed there the night. It was a beautiful place, and lots of people, lots of Mexicans actually, were all having a picnic there. That's what I remember about that place. There was also, it was a country road, okay? It wasn't a main road, it was a country road. And somewhere along that road was a fruit market, like where, I guess, where the fruit sellers, that the growers would just sell their stuff. And I would buy like big sacks of fruit, and that's all I would eat. So that was California. But now I really didn't want to be confusing the issue. I should have started with this. Going back to the incident in Florida with Albert Urena, who I believe, and this needs to be investigated, I believe he put a hidden camera on me as I slept on their sofa. There are reasons why I believe that, and I don't think I really want to be, giving all the details. I'd rather speak to an investigator here. The point about the hidden camera is that, you see, Albert himself may not have known, but my gang stalkers, my traffickers, can hack into any camera anywhere, okay? Like even on my phone, yeah, even on the TV, even, yeah, this is, I believe it was Bill Binney that was talking about that. Like even on a TV, they can look back at you, okay? So I don't have a TV because I haven't watched TV in a lot of years. But that was another incident. And also, Albert was also involved in the incident in Texas because he had made me put, we had an AT&T account together. So I had a phone and he had a phone, his sister, his brother, and I believe one of his friends. It was one of those that was if you had 5 lines, you get it cheaper. And he had convinced me that, I can't remember what this thing was called, but that he would know where I was, like, like a tracking device, like a GPS. He would know where I was, and he suggested that that would be good for my safety. You see, now that I realize these things, what was really happening, it's like I get traumatized all over again. I thought these people were my friends, okay? So, along with Albert, there was a woman called Zamina from Canada, and she was also a gang stalker, and I didn't know it. She asked she asked to do my astrology birth chart, which I said, yeah, fine, you know. And look, I happen to know that, because I've done a bit of numerology and things like that, I have two master numbers in my chart, okay, 11 and 22, and apparently that is rare, all right? And now this is incredible, okay? This is unbelievable, but it's true. These people accused me of being a witch when they are the witches, all right? And they made up this whole story to give them an excuse to do this thing that I believe is called a destiny swap, okay? And so what she did was basically got all my details to do this destiny swap. And I know many of you listening are probably thinking, oh, this is mumbo jumbo. And I believe it's mumbo jumbo too. But the thing is that they believe it. And here's the really important part. They don't do this with witchcraft. That's all smoke and mirrors. That's to make people frightened. They are doing destiny swaps, but they're doing it with gang stalking and with slander and framing and all of that, you know, and with dirty cops, you know, arresting people when they haven't done anything wrong and all of that, you know, giving people a criminal record when they didn't do anything wrong. All of that is taking away somebody's life, you know, forcing somebody out of their job. They forced me out of my job. And that was my dream, by the way, since I was 3 years old, to be a flight attendant. And then on top of all that, they try to make out that they're helping. And it's completely unbelievable. Yet that's what they're up to, okay? Yeah, so Zamina, I can't remember her, Baksh. Okay, Zamina Baksh is her name, and she's from Canada. I believe she has a child now, a boy. All of this needs to be investigated. Who were the people that hired these two to pretend to be my friends? Who are they? I mean, they're my traffickers, obviously, but I do know that my soulmate, who I will do a whole video on, it's just obviously upsetting, but I have to do it. I know that he deliberately made contact with Albert Urena. And in fact, he came to my dad's house when I was there with Albert. So I believe that's when he got his details and stuff. But he, obviously, because they were both working for the same traffickers, he knew that Albert was there, and he must have known about Albert, okay? And I want to clarify something here. Albert was, I thought, my friend, but nothing more than that, all right? And I also want to clarify here, because there's so many lies being told, that I need to just make everything very, very clear. The last man that I slept with in my life, okay, was my soulmate, who's called Yahya Abulmagd, okay, and he's Egyptian. And I will do a video. I've done a post. I may put the post up, I don't know. And that was in a place called Bournemouth in the UK. And it's so long ago now that I can't even remember. But the reason I'm saying this is that all kinds of things have been said about me. Oh, that I'm a prostitute, that I'm a witch, you know, that, oh, they were trying to make me out to be into S&M and that, you know, I've said all that in other videos. So I'm clarifying here. He was the last man I slept with, and it was in Bournemouth. And the reason I say that is that I now know that a long time after that, he did a setup in a place called, oh They're making me forget the name of this little place. It's a very quaint little village on the Sussex Downs in England, and it's one of my favourite places ever. And I've just remembered it's called Alfriston. And he took me there, you know, pretended it was all a romantic thing. But I had already said to him, if we're not together, I am not sleeping with you. If we're not together, properly together, and you're not with anybody else, then we are just friends. And he'd agreed to that. However, there's another story I have to tell that happened before, because this is complicated. I don't want to complicate this matter, but when I had first told him that, I don't know if I can say this, he did something bad, okay? I'm going to leave it for another video. But this is the man I love, okay? The only one. And so, of course, you know, it wasn't that I wanted to cut him off in any way, because, you know, if the only thing that we could be was friends, then that was going to have to be enough as far as I was concerned. But you know, I draw the line at, I don't share, okay? Well, I mean, you know, I do share a lot of things. I can share money, I can share food, but not my man, all right? That's a line that doesn't get crossed and has been crossed, okay? But what I want to say here is this was a setup. I know it was a setup. He had booked a hotel in Alfriston, which of course, you know, is my favorite place, and he took me out to dinner and all of that. And I said, look, I'd love to come out, have dinner, all of that, that's fine, but I don't think I want to be spending the night. I prefer it if you just took me home. And he said, oh, but it'll be nice, we'll just relax, you know, don't worry, nothing will happen, we'll just watch TV or something, okay? So, and actually that is what happened. We did just watch TV and talk. That is what happened. Nothing else happened. But I do believe that he had told certain people that something was going to happen, and it did happen. And I believe that because there was this whole group of people that were kind of shouting at us as we went past a certain point on the way to that village, okay? So that gave me the idea that he has this kind of crowd of people, I don't know, that he's somehow like an audience, that I don't know what it's all about. I really don't. But the more I find out about what's been happening in these past years, the more horrified I am, okay? And I am going to have to do a video. I really am going to have to. And I know I've been putting it off because it's so upsetting. But I'm going to have to. This is what's difficult about these videos, is it's so upsetting, okay? And I am so traumatized. You really have no clue.